Title: The soul-thirsty sand. The air in the tomb was dense, heavy, saturated with the dust of millennia. The beam of my flashlight trembled, revealing hieroglyphs etched into the walls, a macabre dance of gods and pharaohs who seemed to regard me with disapproval. Behind me, the team, Mark, the photographer, Emily, the philologist, and Jackson, the investor who was financing this madness, advanced cautiously, breathing the stale air with difficulty. We had reached the heart of the tomb of Amon-Ra, a minor pharaoh, forgotten by history. Or so we thought. Rumors of a curse, of course, had preceded us. Nonsense, I thought. Superstitions to frighten the locals and keep the curious away. We were scientists, men of reason. Archaeology was our passion, not a children's game with ghosts. The corridor narrowed, forcing us to advance in single file. The silence was absolute, broken only by the echo of our footsteps and the panting of Jackson, who seemed to regret having accepted this adventure. Suddenly, Emily stopped dead, pointing her flashlight at a section of the wall. "Look," she exclaimed, her voice a thread. "The hieroglyphs. They're glowing." At first, I thought it was a trick of the light, an optical illusion. But as I got closer, there was no doubt, the engravings, normally dull and covered in dust, were emitting a faint emerald green glow. A shiver ran down my spine, a strange sensation I couldn't explain. "Impossible," Mark murmured, adjusting his camera. "There's no logical explanation for this." Jackson, always the pragmatist, coughed nervously. "Probably some kind of fluorescent mineral in the stone. Nothing to worry about." But it wasn't a mineral. It was something else. Something alive. Suddenly, the sand on the floor began to move, as if an invisible force were stirring it from below. Small whirlpools formed, dancing around our feet. The glow of the hieroglyphs intensified, illuminating the chamber with a spectral light. A stifled scream from Emily made us turn. The wall in front of her, smooth and devoid of inscriptions, was beginning to crack. Fine, spiderweb-like fissures spread across the surface, revealing an unfathomable darkness behind. The air turned cold, a cold that chilled to the bone. "Back away," I shouted, feeling an irrational panic seizing me. Too late. The wall collapsed with a crash, revealing a hidden chamber. Inside, on a stone pedestal, rested a sarcophagus of solid gold, adorned with jewels and precious stones. But it wasn't the sarcophagus that froze our blood. Standing next to the sarcophagus, wrapped in tattered bandages and adorned with a golden headdress, stood the mummy of Amon-Ra. His eyes, sunken and yellowed, gleamed with an ancient fury. His mouth opened in a grotesque sneer, revealing sharp, yellowed teeth. A guttural voice, deep and resonant, filled the chamber. It was like the whisper of the wind through the dunes, the lament of souls lost in the desert. "You will pay for your audacity," the mummy growled. Jackson was the first to react. He drew his revolver, a weapon he always carried for security. "A mistake. Stay back," he shouted, pointing at the mummy. The mummy didn't flinch. With a surprisingly swift movement, he raised his bandaged hand and threw it towards Jackson. A cloud of sand detached from his hand, striking Jackson in the face. He screamed, dropping the revolver and bringing his hands to his eyes. The sand. It wasn't ordinary sand. It moved, it writhed, as if it were alive. It got into Jackson's eyes, mouth, and nose, suffocating him from within. He fell to the ground, writhing in agony, as the sand slowly consumed him. Mark, gripped by panic, began to take photos frantically, hoping to capture some evidence of what was happening. The mummy turned to him, his eyes blazing with hatred. "You will not capture my image for posterity," he hissed. Mark's flashlight flickered and died, plunging us into darkness. A blood-curdling scream echoed in the chamber, followed by the sound of bones breaking and flesh being torn. Emily and I were the only ones left. We were paralyzed with terror, unable to move. The mummy approached slowly, shuffling his feet, his bandages whispering in the silence. "Why?" I asked, my voice a thread, tears running down my cheeks. "Why are you doing this to us?" The mummy stopped in front of me, his breath reeking of death and decay. "You defiled my tomb," he replied. "You disturbed my eternal rest. You stole my treasures. The curse of Amon-Ra will fall upon you and all who dare to remember me." He extended his hand toward me, his skeletal fingers about to touch my face. I closed my eyes, expecting the worst. But then, something happened. A tremor shook the tomb. The walls trembled. The floor moved beneath our feet. The mummy staggered, clutching the sarcophagus to maintain his balance. "What's happening?" Emily cried. "The tomb is collapsing," I replied. "We have to get out of here." Taking advantage of the distraction, I grabbed Emily's hand and we ran. We ran as fast as we could, stumbling and falling in the darkness, guided only by the sound of the collapse behind us. Finally, we reached the entrance to the tomb. The sunlight blinded us for a moment, but we didn't stop. We ran to the safety of the outside, leaving behind the cursed tomb of Amon-Ra. We never looked back. I don't know what happened to the mummy. I don't know if he was trapped in the collapse or if he managed to escape. I only know that I will never forget what I saw in that tomb. Jackson and Mark are dead. Emily and I are traumatized. The curse of Amon-Ra haunts us in our dreams. And every time I close my eyes, I hear the guttural voice echoing in my head, "You will pay for your audacity." The sand. The sand will always remind me what happened in that tomb. The sand is the soul-thirsty sand, the souls of those who dared to desecrate the tomb of the pharaoh Amon-Ra.